have ever gone through burnout or felt like you just can't get ahead with the things that really matter to you, today I'm going to unlock your freedom in this episode. My name is Elyssa Smith. This is the Unlock Your Blocks podcast, and I'm so excited to dig into this because there are some very simple things that you can do starting now that are going to put you in a much better place, much more peaceful and more productive. Most people don't realize that there's one key to remaining as productive and motivated as possible in your life, and that is to not move from obligation, but to move forward from inspiration. Where instead of something extrinsic pushing you and obligating you and putting duty in front of you, instead drawing you forward and helping you stay inspired to be self-motivated. Now, here's the trick. There's one really simple, maybe not easy, but simple way to make sure that you're doing this as much of the time as possible so that you stay at your maximum amount of productivity and maximum amount of peace and calm and regulation in your nervous system. And that is to operate within your zone of genius. Now, I'm going to help you understand why that matters, where the early wiring comes from, probably in your childhood, that causes you to burn out and have a real struggle when it comes to operating from your list of obligations and the things that you have to get done. And instead of operating from this zone of genius, this inspiration. So let's start with that early wiring. Okay, when you were little, there's a solid chance, if you're an overachiever, that you got the messaging that unless you worked harder or could be better or could do more, you weren't going to get your needs met. So your survival system would have, out of the 4 choices that you have when you're in survival mode, which is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, out of those 4 choices, your body would have likely chosen the fawn response. When we have to be perfect or when we have to perform really well to get our needs met for affection or even maybe some basic needs, then we have to operate from the fawn response, which is pleasing your way to safety. It encourages a type of perfection that can be really crippling, and it actually can lend itself to a type of hidden trauma that I like to call tiny T trauma, which is a type of trauma that isn't violent. It doesn't show up really big. It's not even as pronounced as something like bullying. But essentially, this type of trauma is little emotional needs going unmet during childhood. Maybe you just learned from an adult, hey, it's not safe to take a break until the work is done. Or maybe you learned that if you're not working, then you're lazy. Or if you're not productive, then you don't have value. And so we push ourselves into this burnout mode by saying yes, when really probably we need to be saying no. It's really hard to set boundaries when you have been programmed to please your way to safety. And by that, I just mean if you said, yes, I will do it, or if you were proactive and you took initiative in your household, in your family of origin, if your role in the family was to be the fixer or the person who facilitated everyone else's happiness, it's going to be really difficult as an adult to turn that off and to start doing things to please yourself. Because every time you made a decision to please someone else instead of yourself, you had to abandon yourself. Now, when you have to abandon yourself, that is where you start to get into the direction of burnout. And here's the reason. It takes a lot of nervous system energy to force yourself to do something that isn't totally aligned with where you are. Or with what you want. But we learn that it's more important to do what other people want us to do rather than to really listen and tune in and feel that instinct about what direction we need to go or what topics we need to talk about or what tasks we need to do. So it takes more energy from your system to do things that are not aligned with you than it does for you to actually tune in once you've practiced tuning in, because you wouldn't have learned it as a child if you're a high achieving perfectionist like me. And so you practice that ability to tune into what really lights you up. And then you start doing those things and it takes much less energy. You can get into, I've heard people call this like flow, but not to get in too much into the energy part of it, but really it is less taxing on your entire system to do things that are in alignment with you and with what you really want. So having learned to do things basically because we need to work harder, be better, do more, earn love, please our way to safety, with all of that comes this burnout. And so learning how to hone our zone of genius, that stuff that lights us up, that's easy, that comes naturally, we could do it all day long, that's really, really important. The other stuff that comes up for us when we are used to abandoning ourselves are our 5 procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing, all of our saboteurs, and then imposter syndrome and negative self talk. So, all of those get really heightened when you are not listening to yourself very well because your nervous system is just trying to like protect you and help you survive. And it'll throw those things at you if it thinks that you're not able to keep yourself safe with other people. You might have those things start to kick in when you start to do things that really light you up. So you have to actually start with this nervous system regulation piece. Another thing that you want to watch for is when you're on autopilot, your default is probably to go back to like, who do I get to validate me? Who do I get to make sure that I'm okay? Who can tell me that I'm okay? And so that I don't have to do it for myself, because we learned that we have to have someone else's approval in order for things to go okay for us. So if you're automatically saying all the time, okay, I can do that, therefore I should do that. So somebody says, hey, can you help me with this? Or hey, get your boss add some extra jobs that you're not technically getting paid for. And you're like, well, and it's plus we have the dynamic, if you're a woman listening to this, like we have the dynamic of being a female in the workplace or in the business world or wherever we are operating. And so there are so many different hats that we have to wear in order to be pleasing and acceptable to society. And so you may not feel like you can say no to something that's not aligned with you because you're just in this, I can, therefore I should mentality. Then you're going to end up in this burnout place, this place of procrastinating because you don't really want to do the things. It's not really procrastination if it's something that you never intended to do or wanted to do, but it is once you've said yes to that thing and you're still not doing it. So then what is the zone of genius? Okay. So it's the place where you are operating from an intrinsic sense of motivation. So when you think about the last time that something really excited you, something that you were like, okay, I could do this. Like this would make me so happy to go do this thing. Maybe you're kind of thinking about starting up a side hustle, in addition to your career. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, but you're really worried about stepping outside of this box that you've had yourself in. I can attest to this. It is really easy because my brain tends to lean toward what is the accepted structure for things. Visibility on social media. How many times a day do you post? And what do you post about? And, how do you organize your LinkedIn page? And like, what do you do for this? And what do you do for that? So there's a lot out there that tells you what to do. And if you are on autopilot from a childhood where you pleased your way to safety, you're not even going to think about it. You're just going to like do the things that everyone tells you to do. And you're going to end up burned out or procrastinating and you won't know why. So it takes some effort at first when we are overachieving perfectionists and we arrive in adulthood and we don't have our zone of genius figured out. It takes a little bit of work to really hone in and listen. It might not even feel safe at first for you to listen to the things like what is actually really fun for me? What is actually a really exciting thing that I enjoy doing? And it could be for your work, or it could be just a hobby. Like start small. If you haven't figured this out at all, what your zone of genius is, start really small. Start with, okay, I literally started with what is your favorite color? Because I had people pleased so hard my whole life that I really didn't even know what my favorite color was. And so there were things that started to change, just little tiny things like what's my favorite food? What are the ways that I like to show up in the world? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? I believed I was an extrovert my whole life. And then I was really confused when I would get to the end of a night around all kinds of people and be like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And so it turns out I'm sort of an extroverted introvert, but I really need the time alone to recharge. So what are the things that light you up? Just maybe start with making a list of this. Now, the cynic in all of us, high achieving, maybe you're an oldest daughter like me and you're the hero child. The cynic in us can really kind of put a damper on the dreaming process. I actually literally have clients who come to me just to help with the dreaming process because they've had it clamped down for so long. It's not safe for me to have anything that I want. It's only safe if other people tell me the things that they really want me to. So when you're ready, you can start to evaluate, what am I doing? What is on my plate that I may not be really needing to be the person that's actually following through with these items? So the place I started with this was literally just writing a list of everything that I do during a day. I'm really grateful. My director of ops, Melissa, was the one who helped me do this in my business. And she coached me to look at what are the things that are the most draining and to kind of rate everything that I'm doing. I may not even know what really lights me up until I just rate the stuff that's on my to-do list for the day or even just, it's better to do a to-do list for this. If you know what a to-do list is, it's things I already did today. And then to rate them like this was the most draining draining thing, or this was the second most draining. And these are the things that weren't draining at all. And I loved these. So figure out your own little system for writing it all out. So if it was easy and it feels aligned with your ultimate goals, that's close to your zone of genius, if not right in the middle of it. But if you were tempted to put things off, or if you did put things off and it feels really hard to do, those are things that are not in your zone of genius. So you're going to be motivated more from inspiration than obligation. And that is actually going to clear off your plate if you can start saying no to some stuff. And if you're having trouble with that, book a 15-minute chat with me. We will get to the root of why it's hard for you to say no to things. And that's the ElyssaSmith.com/focus. You can get a 15-minute call if you identify as a woman. And so the essential part of this is that you give yourself time and space to really think about, what is it that I like? What is it that I want to be doing with my day? And to not let that inner sort of jaded part of us, that's the little hard worker, she's like, you're being lazy if you just do fun things all day. She doesn't know. She's just trying to protect you. That part is designed to help you stop getting rejected from the herd. And you're your own herd now. Like you definitely need to be in connection with other people that are safe and validating and all that. But you can be your own person that gets your own needs met now. So keep that in mind, that those protector parts that are saying it's not safe to have fun, it's not safe to do stuff that's just for fun. I have a client right now, actually, she's going through an experience where she has a goal that she wants to meet and it's just for fun. It's not for work or money or any other bigger thing. And she's having a hard time because to reach this goal would be hard work. And to her inner family, her little girl inside, it's like, what's the point? Why would we do that? It doesn't weigh on the bottom line at all. So learning how to have fun and build things into your life that are just for fun, and also build things into your life that have an overall purpose toward your end goal, but they come from this place of, oh, wow, this really lights me up. That is how you live in your zone of genius. So I hope this was a good little taster for you about what this zone of genius is and how it can help you prevent burnout, procrastination, perfectionism, all the tough stuff that follows you if you're a high achiever. And I hope that you'll continue taking such good care of yourself. And we'll be back here next time to talk about